Well, I spoke to members of both parties after the vote. Democrat Representative Kuster praised the deal.
A huge relief to the American economy and to the economy around the world. I'm just very proud to have been a part of making sure that we didn't default on this manufactured crisis by our Republican colleagues. But the good news is our government will continue the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
What made you decide to support this agreement?
Well, I am the chair of a group that's called the New Democrat Coalition, and we are all about the economy, we're about jobs and opportunity, and we're very compassionate. And at the end of the day, I believe that the agreement that was negotiated by President Biden and by his advisors is the best deal that was possible for us. Look, I don't think we should have been in this position. I don't think that the Republicans should hold our economy hostage. But once we were here, we needed to negotiate, first of all, a clean debt ceiling, and second of all, an agreement going forward on future spending. And I'm confident that we got the very best deal for our constituents.
Some of your Democratic colleagues are not confident that this was the very best deal that they could have gotten, and some of them refuse to vote for it because of the work requirements for poorer Americans, caps to federal spending as well. And I want to read to you something that your colleague in the Senate, Bernie Sanders, said. He said he's going to vote no on this agreement, and he said, quote, "At a time of massive wealth and income inequality, I cannot in good conscience vote for a bill that takes vital nutrition assistance away from women, infants, children, and seniors, while refusing to ask billionaires who have never had it so good to pay a penny more in taxes." So what do you think of that from Senator Sanders?
Well, look, I don't think the statement is wrong. What I think we have to deal with here in the House is that Democrats don't control the House of Representatives. That ship sailed in November of 2022, and we don't have the majority. So given a divided government, the voters that sent us here to Washington, D.C., chose a divided government. I'm hoping that in November of 2024, Democrats prevail and we can take even more compassionate steps. But what I do know about this bill is that for the first time, we've increased services to our veterans. We've protected those who are homeless or housing insecure. We've protected foster children up to age 24. So we've taken steps that are very compassionate. But yes, I am hurt by the fact that some people's lives will be more difficult. I want to win the election in November of 2024, and I want to do everything we can to make a difference for those people.
Democrats are in control of the Senate. Are you confident that they will pass this bill in the Senate as well?
I am. It's a must-pass bill. We have to avoid the default and the total meltdown, not just of our economy, but frankly, it would impact economies all around the world. And what I would say is that that will pass in the Senate. They will get to 60 votes. I'm hoping they do that expeditiously, and so the markets can be calmed over the weekend, and the markets will open on Monday, knowing that we will not default on our obligations and that people can keep their homes, their mortgages, the credit card interest rates, and keep their jobs. And that's the most important goal, and that's why I voted yes.
The Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, was just holding a press conference, and he accused President Biden of waiting far too long to negotiate. Did the White House make a mistake there?
No, absolutely not. What we were waiting for, frankly, was for Speaker McCarthy to put his point of view on the table. One thing about negotiating, you don't ever negotiate against yourself. So President Biden had put his proposed budget out there. I might point out that President Biden's proposed budget would have cut $3 trillion from the deficit, and the agreement that we just voted on was far less than that. So frankly, if we had just voted to pass the president's budget, we would have lowered the deficit by even more.
Congressman, I do want to ask you about your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, because some members of the Freedom Caucus have indicated that there will be a reckoning for this bill passing through the House of Representatives. Are you worried that the Speaker of the House essentially made a deal that could cost him the speakership and end up in more turbulence in Congress?
Well, here's what I expect will happen. If the Freedom Caucus does move forward with the motion to vacate, I don't believe that the Democrats will support that move, and I think it will fail miserably on the floor of the House. And I think finally, at long last, all of us together will put an end to the Freedom Caucus making decisions for our government and for people all across this country.
Okay, Congresswoman Annie Kuster joining us, Democrat from the state of New Hampshire, who just voted in support of this agreement on the House floor. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News.